MS Now's Julia Jester was at the Pentagon briefing this morning. Brett Bruin is a former U.S. diplomat who served as Director of Global Engagement and is president of the Global Situation Room Incorporated. With me in studio, MS Now National Security and Intelligence Analyst Chris O'Leary. He's Senior Vice President for Global Operations at the Soufan Group and was former Director of Hostage Recovery for the U.S. government. He also took part in the evacuation of Afghanistan in 2021. It is great to have all of you here. But Chris, let me start, since you've done this kind of work before. How do they get people out fast and safely?
So what should have happened was this should have been part of the initial planning, what's called a non-combatant evacuation operation, a NEO, which is synchronization between multiple government agencies, with the State Department and the Department of Defense taking the lead and planning for the logistics to have, lift available for every American that needs it to get out. That clearly wasn't done. And even the president himself, when he was with his German counterpart yesterday, said he was somewhat surprised about the regional effects, the response from Iran. And, what's been set up has been haphazard and I think symptomatic of what we see more broadly with this war. There's no two people telling you the same thing. And what you've done, what MS Now has done is, calling this hotline and demonstrating the fact that it's not giving people the comfort or direction that they need to get out of this crisis. And the threat is not abating. Clearly, the attack from Turkey or at Turkey is demonstrative of the fact that we're going to continue to see effects from the Iranian regime, which sees this as an existential threat.
So, Brett, I want to remind people of that message that the State Department was delivering as recently as 5 o'clock Eastern time yesterday afternoon. Here it is.
Please do not rely on the U.S. government for assisted departure or evacuation at this time. There are currently no United States evacuation points.
Well, as we noted, that line is manned now, but callers are being told to sign up online for alerts, to wait for the government to get back to them, no timeline at all. To Chris's point, could this have been better planned? Could there have been warnings? Could there have been something ready to go? And let me just ask you a final question, which is about nothing against contractors. Contractors serve an important role, but it almost sounds like they were just reading from a sheet. It's not like they're people who are experienced in the region and can provide answers.
Yeah, and Chris, to that point, the last thing that you want in this kind of dangerous situation is confusion, contradictory information. And unfortunately, that is what we have been getting over the last several days. We are now in the 5th day of this war, and Americans are just starting to get an inkling of how they or their relatives and friends and families could get out. And to the point earlier, yes, if Trump knew that he was going to launch this operation, one, you want to send as direct a message as you can to Americans. Get out of the region, avoid travel there. So you're reducing the number of people that you eventually have to evacuate in that non-combatant evacuation, the NEO that was mentioned before. But then on top of that, you have got to ensure that you're reassuring Americans so that they understand what the plan is. And I think what we have seen from the Trump administration are the costs of all of those cuts last year to the State Department, to the lack of leadership, to the departure of so many State Department experts in this kind of situation. And so they're trying to recreate the arc as the floodwaters are coming over the top of the situation.
I want to pick up on that because there is a question about how many people are actually on the ground overseas to help. On Tuesday, the U.S. said it was recalling diplomatic staff from Pakistan, Cyprus, Oman, Saudi Arabia, 2 of those countries on that original list of 14. And we should note, of those 14 countries where people were told to evacuate, 7 of them, along with Iran, have no U.S. ambassador. How does that complicate things?
Yeah, so what you're going to have in these kind of situations, I've worked on evacuations in these war situations, is you will deploy everyone at the embassy, every U.S. official, no matter if you're an IT specialist, if you're diplomatic security, if you're a public affairs officer, you will be out there helping to coordinate Americans. And so you need as many people as possible. But Chris, again, this is an illustration of what was done wrong here. This is going to be a case study for the State Department going forward on how not to handle these kind of emergency situations, because you don't have enough of the right people. You're now trying to get both official Americans, American citizens out in the midst of very dangerous conditions. And we didn't have to subject our people to these risks. We know how to do this. We have done it time and time again. And somehow I think the Trump team just, forgot to look up, this stuff before they launched the attack.
Qatar saying an Iranian ballistic missile has struck Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. That is the largest military installation for the United States in the entire Middle East. And it comes as a new CNN investigation is now looking specifically at the American targets hit so far by Iranian strikes, every single one of them. Tamara Klablawi is out front.
Satellite imagery showing the extent of the damage to U.S. military facilities across Gulf Arab countries is starting to emerge, part of Iran's furious response to an Israeli-American campaign that decimated its leadership. At least 9 U.S. military positions have been hit in less than 48 hours. These are relatively close targets. They're much nearer to Iran than its usual target, Israel. That proximity may give Iran's missiles and drones a better chance of hitting their targets. This is the port of Shuaibah, where just after 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, an Iranian strike set a makeshift U.S. operations center at the civilian port ablaze. 6 American service members were killed in the attack. You can see smoke rising from the fire. The blown-out 3-wide trailer blackened on the inside. There are few signs of fortification. In another attack, a drone, this appears to be the Arash 2, crashes into U.S. positions in Camp Buring. A building severely damaged. American helicopters parked inside the base were nearly hit. In Bahrain, a Shahid attack drone flies into the base that hosts the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, one of the largest American naval formations in the world. It looks alarmingly defenseless. The drone hits one satellite communication terminal, clearly seen here. But the scale of the damage is more obvious here, warehouses and other buildings damaged. And another satellite communication terminal destroyed in a separate attack. We see this pattern of targeting throughout the region. At least 5 satellite communication terminals were destroyed. It points to a possible Iranian effort to cut U.S. bases off from the outside world. Iran used an unprecedented barrage of missiles and drones. U.S. Patriot missiles and other multi-billion-dollar air defense systems shot most of these out of the sky. But the ones that got through were enough to puncture the veil of security around oil-rich Gulf Arab states and the heart of America's security infrastructure in the Middle East. Now, the question is just how long can Iran sustain these attacks? That depends on how big their stockpiles of missiles and drones are, which is currently unknown. And really, Aaron, it comes down to how quickly can the U.S. and Israel achieve their stated objective of obliterating the missiles. Until that happens, Iran has made it clear that in the aftermath of the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, it plans to sow as much chaos as possible to U.S. interests in the Middle East and beyond.
At the very top of the program, I mentioned the strike on Al Udeid that we are understanding has just happened, and that was from we understand, a ballistic missile from Iran. What's the significance of that, given that you've been there so much, but that this is the single largest military base in the region?
Well, the Qatari government has the obligation, in concert with the United States, agreements in place to protect the airspace. When I was there, and over the course of time, certainly there was a full integration of not only U.S. air defense capabilities and those that are possessed by the Qatarian government. In this case, over the course of time, maybe the U.S. presence there has decreased somewhat, and in Qatar, it has increased to a point that they now have primacy in terms of that mission set. That's the only thing I can assume right now, because for Iran to be able to target Al Udeid, first of all, it's a known location. They know where it is, so that's no mystery. Yep. But for it to get through, that's a legitimate concern.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says all personnel are accounted for after a drone strike in a parking lot near the U.S. consulate in Dubai late last night. It is now 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. Paula Hancock's joining us from Dubai. And Paula, Just let's get some reaction there. People have been extremely concerned, of course, about these attacks. They do tell us they, on the whole, feel safe, though. How is what is going on in Dubai and the broader picture of Iranian attacks on US military and, importantly, non-military facilities going down?
Well, Becky, we had heard from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that they were expanding their targets. It was going to be American political centers hit as well, and we're certainly seeing that. As you mentioned there, the car park of the consulate in Dubai, close to where we are here now, there were no casualties because there was no one in the building. We know that the consulate at the embassy in Abu Dhabi, they'd cancelled all appointments up until March 4th, which is today. Clearly, that is going to be extended. And we're seeing embassies being shut, the Saudi embassy, the Kuwait embassy, because they are being targeted. Now, we also saw overnight in Qatar, the Al Udeid air base once again being struck. This is the largest US military installation in the Middle East. But again, there would have been an awful lot of movement out of